Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Sean from the Paddle and Fin Noobs show here. Susie is having her husband is having some medical issues, so she had a very busy weekend taking care of him. He's doing better, but because of that, we didn't have much of a chance to record this weekend. But I decided that since I had Columbus Day off, I was going to get out on the water, and I figured I would take you all with me. So I wanted to give you a little bit of insight into how I fish the fall. I'm hoping for a good day, but stick with me here for the next hour or so, and I'm going to go through. I'm out here on the Susquehanna, my kind of home waters, and I'm going to take you guys along with me, kind of show you the baits that I'm throwing, try and show you where I'm throwing them, and just what I'm doing and how I tend to work the fall bite. So stay with me, and hope you enjoy. Hey guys, thanks again for tuning in. This is Sean Lavery from the Noob Show out on the Susquehanna. It's a very cool morning, 44 degrees right now, but it's supposed to get warmer. Right now the wind isn't bad, it's just gentle, like water's like glass out here, so conditions are great. I checked the river levels before I came out, and it looks like we're going to be getting a rise here, so I'm hoping that that'll have the fish chomping this morning. But I wanted to start out by showing you guys the couple of the rods that I brought. I did bring 5 or 6. So first rod is my crankbait rod. So I have on here a crawl crankbait that we'll be trying out. I haven't actually thrown this one as much this year just because the grass seems a little more grown up than usual. So this thing has been pulling in a lot of grass and a lot of times not coming back clean. So I have my trusty crankbait with me. I have my Rico popper, which in the fall, a lot of times cold water isn't great for topwater, but in the fall that's kind of one of the exceptions because the water is still pretty warm. The weather, the air temperature might be cold, but it doesn't quite kill the topwater bite until a little bit later in the season. So I do have my popper with me, and that's probably what I'm going to start out with. So I'm going to sit that down here by my feet. If you guys have heard me watch the show recently, I've talked a little bit about the Jeff Little talking about the better than a jig rig. So that's what this is. It's a skirted bullet weight with a little bead in the middle, and then a small flipping hook. It's only like I think a 1/0 or 2/0. I'll put a crawl trailer on there when I'm ready to use that, but that's one of the things that I'm going to try this morning. Then I have my trusty stupid tube. This is what actually won me the tournament last year. The one thing right now, I'm out of my 1/8 or 1/16 ounce heads, so this one is a little bit heavier, heavier than I prefer. It's the 1/8 ounce, but we'll see if we can get this working this morning. With the flow coming up a little bit, I anticipate some spots with a little bit heavier flow, so I'm thinking that this might be a good bait to throw this morning. Then I have my trusty Ned rig. Don't leave home without it. Hashtag Ned rig for life. On the Susquehanna, this is one rig that I always have tied on pretty much 24/7 anytime I go out in the river. This is the TRD stupid tubes. No, the ticklers. I like the I like this color. It's hot snakes. That's one of my favorite colors to use out on the river. So when we get down a little bit lower on the river this morning, where the rocks are, that's probably going to be when I break out the Ned rig. I kind of have a methodical approach to how I fish each part of the river, and we won't quite get to the rocks until a little bit later here if you guys hang with me. But we have a creek mouth to fish before we get down there, and a couple other small islands that we'll hit. But so Ned rig. And then last but not least, over on this side, I have my jackhammer. This is the Golden Shiner, and I have a Big Joshy trailer on it. I started using the Big Joshy trailer when I had no other trailers to use, and I really like it. It has, the kicking is not insane like a Kitech would be, so it really works good as a Kitech or as a chatterbait trailer from what I found. I do like a couple of the other Z-Man baits too for my chatterbait trailers, but I've started throwing the Big Joshy on it a little bit ago, again because I had no other options on that day, and I really like it. It seems to really work well, so I'll probably throw in this a little bit too, and see what we can find, because I've started really getting to like the jackhammer bite out here. It's picked up for me. I didn't have a lot of luck with it earlier in the season, but here lately I've had a lot of luck. So I'll probably be throwing this a little bit too. So you can see the sun's coming up here. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, and we'll talk about a little bit of everything. I'll try and talk you guys through what I'm doing. But let's start with the popper and see if we can get any takes here as the sun's coming up. I tend to really like the popper in this particular area of the river that I'm in, right by the launch. It's kind of like I don't want to say a flat, but it's definitely a kind of larger area of all similar depth. It's all like 5 to 6 feet generally. It is a little grassy, which is why the popper I kind of like, because I can stay above the grass for the most part. And I just like that the popper, because it lets me work the area a little slower than a whopper plopper. There are spots where I do prefer a whopper plopper if there's some current and stuff, but right here where I am, I'm kind of just sitting ever so slightly floating. Oh, there's a bite. Oh, he missed it. I should pay attention instead of watching you guys. But yeah, I use the plopper when I'm around moving current, because it tends just to wash the Rico right down, and the plopper I can kind of keep moving and not have to worry about it just floating away. I can kind of run it through those current areas and kind of keep it where I want, whereas the Rico tends to just drift on through those areas. But right here where I am right now, it's kind of wide open, not much current, so it kind of stays where I want it to stay. So that stinks that I missed that one right off the bat, but hopefully there will be some more here. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Rico, but it is definitely one of my favorite poppers. I have by far the most confidence in it. It is very expensive, probably one of the most expensive poppers on the market. But again, with topwater, you don't often lose it. So I kind of, that's one of the ones that I don't mind spending a lot on. I have hung one or two in a tree, so that sucks. But for the most part, you get it back. And I can show you the next time I get this in here. I'll show you. This one's been chewed on so many times because the bass really do like it. And it's one of my confidence baits. And we'll see. I'm kind of happy that I got a hit on it already. You can see I'm pulling back a little bit of grass over against the shore where I'm throwing it. It has there's a lot of grass over there, but so you can see, I don't know if you can see on my bait, it's missing both eyes. I have replaced the back treble once because the feather was pretty much gone. So this thing has definitely been chewed on this summer. I retired my Rico from last year just because I caught so many good fish on it, and I like to, if I catch a lot of good fish, I'll hang that bait on a rack in my garage as one of the all-stars, kind of like retiring a number in baseball. Let's see what we can find here. So, speaking of baseball, my Braves are in the playoffs. They didn't do great against the Phillies in that first game, but hope springs eternal. They're a good team, probably the best Braves team that I can remember, offensive-wise. So I'm hoping that they can pick it up a little bit here in the next game. I think they play tonight. So I've been watching baseball. I'm kind of a closet Orioles fan. My dad and family growing up were O's fans, so I kind of wish they were doing a little better too, but it is what it is. So now the Rico, listening to Tackle Talk podcast when my buddy over there had Rick Clunn on, the designer of this bait. It was interesting because he said that he throws it on a crankbait rod, and he is working it fast, like pop, 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 as fast as he can work it. And I do that sometimes. I usually start off with a slower cadence, just pop, pop, let it sit, pop, pop, let it sit, pop, pop, let it sit. And you kind of got to see what the fish want. The first hit was, I wasn't popping it much at all, and it came up and hit it. But I should have had my Ned rig ready as a follow-up bait, but I didn't. So we're going to keep trying this year. I'm kind of floating my way slowly down to a creek mouth, which is usually the second place I stop on my journey down the river. I hope you guys aren't picking up too much of the construction noise in the background here, but definitely there's some trucks and road work stuff happening up the road, and it'll definitely be a little quieter as we get downriver away from that here. Sometimes what I'll do too here in this particular section, you can see I'm pulling back a little bit of grass over by the shore there, is I always try over on the other side of the boat too, because it's kind of weird. There's grass mats right along the bank here, and then when you get out maybe 100 yards from the bank, or 100 feet from the bank, on the other side of me, there's another grass mat. So I'm kind of in a channel between two grass mats. And so I kind of fish both sides, the little bit deeper side to my left and the shore side to my right. And just kind of try. I have more luck usually on the shore side, but got a little bit of tangle here in my trebles, but that's the one thing about this bait, is a treble hook bait. Gets hooked on everything, but I think that also helps with the hookup ratio, because once I get bites, I usually don't miss them if I'm paying attention on this one. A lot of times you don't really have to do much of anything, and they kind of, as soon as they nail it and try and take it down, they hook themselves pretty much. So stinks that I missed that first bite. Let's put my sunglasses on here in a second. So a little tip for any of you guys, the beginners watching, when I cast, if you'll notice, pretty much every time I'm closing the bail with my hand instead of just turning the reel to close it. It helps with line twist and a bunch of other things, but get in that habit of closing your bail with your hand instead of cranking it, and it'll help with your line management a little bit. You'll even see some people on before they even start, after they close the bail, they'll reach down and pull down a little bit of line out. Depends on the bait that I'm doing that with. With the popper, I don't do that as much. But with some of my other heavier baits that I throw. So once it lands, I'm going to just take my bail, close it by my hand, pull out a little bit of line there, and then start working my bait. Right now the wind is really nice. I think my phone app said it was 5 miles per hour, so the conditions are beautiful right now. It is supposed to get a little windier later. It was really windy yesterday. I missed the Susquehanna duck hunters. So it's always a fun surprise in the morning too, when you don't know they're out there. But that's where I'm wearing my orange PFD, just so I'm at least somewhat visible. And but yeah, what was I saying? Sorry, I'm going to take a look at my comments here. My sunglasses are right down here. I left them off because I was facing upstream earlier, away from the sun. But now that I'm coming down the sun, they're coming down into the sun. It's definitely brighter. So. Yeah, I'm sure you do want to go back to the Susky. That's what I was thinking about. The Bassmaster was this weekend, and with everything I had going on with my family and my mom, I kind of wrote it off, and it was actually ended up being a good thing. So my daughter had an all-day soccer tournament Saturday and part of the day on Sunday. So I probably wouldn't have been able to fish it as well as I would want to anyway, because I wanted to be there for her for the tournament. So, that being said, congrats to Josh Strenko for an awesome performance. Looking at the bags that they put up, man, that was awesome, and just a kind of tribute to what the Susky can do. And I don't know, it'll be interesting to hear Josh go over his what was working for him and see, because it was just he got out to an early lead and never let it go. But I had a lot of good friends fishing that tournament as well. Jordan Welliver, he's been on the show. Jake Harshman, both those guys did really well. Just looking down over the list, it was a lot of friends of mine that I was happy to see do so well. And our PA boys were representing pretty good. It was just a good showing all around, and congrats to all the guys who fished that. It seemed like a great event. I'm hoping it'll come back. Either one of the big series will come back to the Susquehanna again next year. I fished the Hobie last year, and then they didn't come back. But Bass King this year, I know Drew Gregory is going to have an event here, but way far up in kind of the New York PA line. So I'm kind of interested to check that out. My in-laws have a cabin or a house up there, so I'm hoping maybe that'll actually work out, that I get to try that a little bit, try out his new series and Drew's series. It sounds like a really cool, kind of a little bit different event, and more focused on the kind of the fun side of it. Not that I'm not a competitor, but I definitely enjoy the camaraderie side a little bit more. Wind's picking up just a little bit, and we're working our way down to that creek mouth. So I'm probably going to switch baits here. It does get a little bit shallower down here by the creek mouth, so try the popper a little bit more down here, but then I'm going to switch to my Ned rig or the tube when we get down in the creek. I can see a blue heron right here on the shore by me, so that's a good sign. Anytime you see birds, you know that they're there for a reason a lot of times. So as we work this here, I'm going to kind of drift my way over. Now the water was lower, the water level was low but rising, so the creek mouth tends to be a little bit tough with my Mirage Drive. So sometimes I have to do a lot of flutter kicking around here, but let's and work this a little bit slower. The creek mouth can be like a super good spot at times. Then I know a lot of people that pass by it because it's low, but there's just a few spots that you kind of got to get around. And I see a lot of grass laying on top of the water right now, so I just need to get by this grassy section and down to where I want to be. Yeah, man, Steve, that was awesome. And Steve did really well. Steve Baker, he's said in the comments, I got to meet him at our KA kind of championship. And Steve mentioned that he had been listening to the show and learned a lot. And he's doing good things too, starting to fish bigger and bigger events and doing well in them. He did really well in our championship, and definitely nice to meet him. Just had something pop over there. I don't know about you guys, but my experience is usually if I come out at like daybreak and hit the water right at the beginning, sometimes the bite does take a little bit to come on. Almost like they just have to wake up a bit. I do like being out here early with the duck hunters. It scares me a little bit because I can't see them until I'm right up on them, and I've needed a change of pants a few times. Not just kidding, but it's been like that where you don't know they're there until you're right up on them and they unload on some ducks, and then it kind of scares the heck out of you. But let's see what we can find down here at the creek mouth. If there's anything. Get over that grass. There's a little bit more grass down here. This creek mouth is really, really good when the river is way up. Probably one of my better days with the tube was it was almost flowing too fast for me to paddle, and I was like, well, I'll just go out of the launch and go down to the creek mouth because it's not that far. I should be able to make it back up. And man, I got down to the creek mouth here, and it was with the tube every other cast almost. And you can feel I'm hitting the bottom here a little bit. So I'm going to flutter my way over here to the creek mouth. Of course, Russ Snyder's did good, but Russ Snyder's does good everywhere. So, like I said, just jumped over there. It'll be interesting to listen to the wrap-up shows, and maybe when I'm sure Jimmy will have those guys on and hear what they were using. Anytime you can pick the brains of hammers like that, it's always a good thing. There's a lot jumping right up there, so I'm going to try up there. Let's see if we can get our first catch here. I'm thinking they're going to be out in the current today, though, not necessarily to back up here. So we just have to work our way down there. It's where it starts flowing a little. There's some pinch points where the river picks up speed between islands and stuff a little bit downriver from where I am right now. But I always like to stop and check the creek mouth just to make sure nothing's chilling in here. And doesn't seem like anybody's home today. No bites yet. Yeah, Andy's saying that the event will be in Towanda, or Drew's event will be in Towanda like next year, and I had to go look that up. It's about an hour from where my in-laws live, but when I was listening to him on the Catch podcast with Brad and Matt, who used to be on Paddle and Fin, Drew was saying that it will include both PA and some New York waters, so that's definitely interesting. I've never fished the New York side. I've actually thought I had it right there. Those just leaves. That event will include some New York waters too, so it's got to be way up there. But it'll be interesting to see. I was just talking to my father-in-law about potentially staying at their place for that, so we will see. I don't know how far it is. I would think it's a lot further north than Reading, just from what I was looking at the map, because I can get to Reading in about an hour and 15 maybe from my house. And when I put in Towanda, it was like 3.5 hours north. So I think it might be a little further from Reading, but I could be wrong. Let's see here. If we don't get another bite or any bites back here in the creek mouth soon, I'm going to head back out to the main river. Let's see what else we can find. There's a spot that a lot of shore fishermen like to fish right here, kind of. It's a real steep bank with some really big chunk rocks. I just want to go back and throw a few casts right by there and see if anybody's there. If not, we'll turn around and head back out to the main river and head down to the next stop on my normal journey is a few bigger islands that I like to fish, at least the front and back end of. One thing that when I fished with Randy Long and had that really amazing day that he did that I didn't do much of was fish the push water on the front of the big islands, the upriver side. So I always thought that, that's where all the current's hitting the front of the island. They're not going to want to be in the current. They're going to want to be on the tail end where there's actually a current break. But at least the pattern that we had found was mostly on the front side of islands like that. And I had never really fished it that much. I mean, cast here and there as I was passing by, but I definitely didn't focus on it. And but that definitely taught me then to not skip those places. So, all right, it doesn't sound like, or seem like many people are home, or many fish are home, or at least awake back here in the creek mouth. So I'm going to call that my last creek mouth cast, and then we'll turn around and head back out. I'm actually on the Susquehanna, Dave. It's just the Wrightsville area right by my house, the closest place to me, kind of what I always consider my home waters. And just kind of chilling out this morning, enjoying my day off, and happy to be on the water and talking to you folks. So I'm going to turn around here in just a second. We're going to go. Yeah, let's go. Not seeing too much action happening back here, so go back out to the main river and see what we get. I'm going to put my popper up for now. It's one thing I'm definitely guilty of is not keeping the cleanest deck, and I pay for it a lot by getting things tangled, by having a lot of stuff down on my deck instead of back in my rod holders where they should be. And I keep, every time I do it, I say, well, I'm not going to do that anymore, and then I get lazy and I let it lay on my deck, and then all right, so let's head back out to the main river. Grab it. I don't know about you guys, but I have been researching motors more and more. Not that I don't like pedaling, but I just I think I'm ready to make that jump here at some point, and just trying to figure out what is best. Let's grab our sunglasses. It's a little better. We're heading right into the sun now. So let it fog it up because it's cold. This is one of the colder mornings that I fished so far this season. But at least it's not windy yet. Yesterday at the soccer tournament, it was windy and cold. At least I got out of the rainy part of the tournament, which Saturday morning it was rainy, and my wife was at that part, and thankfully I was thankful that I didn't have to experience the rainy, windy part, because that seemed really not fun. But she was joking with me, though, that I definitely would have fished it had I had the time. She's like, you know, you'd be out fishing in that. And I was like, yeah, you're probably right. So I know, I don't know if the weather followed upstate to the guys fishing the BOS. It did look like some of the video I saw, the guys were pretty wet. So I imagine that was a little bit part of the weather up there. So here at where the creek mouth comes back out to the main river, it is, like I said, low, but there's a few kind of, almost, it's not really a ledge, it's just more like rock piles that they do kind of stage right behind. And every once in a while I have some luck fishing those kind of rock piles. But it is grassy here as well. So let's see if this one. And I apologize. Now I'm looking directly into the sun, so reading the comments on the screen is going to be tough. But let's see what we can find here. I don't know if you guys remember when we had, I'm drawing a blank on his name, the guy from Mule Fishing, Ethan. And Ethan is kind of a Ned rig master. And one of the things that I learned most from watching him was that when you're working the Ned rig, it's really, really small movements with your rod tip. You're not doing big hops, you know, although sometimes they want it moving, but for the most part, you're just trying to move that Ned rig ever so slightly with your rod tip, you know, an inch or two at a time. And I found when I really started kind of moving it slower, and little movements made a big difference. And also, you know, right now I feel I'm trying to search for a bite here, so I am fishing a little bit faster than I normally would, but we'll see what we can find here. And sometimes it's one of the things that I've learned that really took me a long time to learn is when you're looking for the bite, you just have to be patient. And if you know enough space and spots to check and different kind of areas to check, you will find them. It's just you have to kind of narrow it down, and attacking the river with a methodical approach like I've kind of started doing really helps me figure out that pattern. But it just takes time sometimes to get that first bite. And again, in my experience, sometimes it just takes him a little bit to get woken up this morning. I gotta find out where that duck hunter was, because it sounded really close. I don't want to mess him up, or he's not right here where I thought he would be. I did look a lot of times when I come out this time of year. I'll stop at the one parking lot where the most of the boats put in, and just see how many boats are there, because this time of year, 9 times out of 10, if they're here this early in the morning, they're going to be duck hunters. And I only saw one truck in that parking lot, so I was hoping that there isn't many out here today. Although I hear it. I see decoys, so he's up north of me, so I'm going to sneak my way out of here. Get out of his way. Go down river. I would have. Try and be a little clear. He was just on a different island than I expected him to be. It's a shame too, because right where he's sitting on the one side of that island is a good spot. But maybe he will be gone when I come back up river later in the day. Alright, there we go. Just going to give him some space. I try to share the river. There's plenty of river here. So try not to give them much trouble. I've had some guys yell at me a few times, but one time a guy yelled at me for going down to the creek mouth, and I was like, buddy, if you're shooting anywhere in my direction, there's houses right over here, so you can't be shooting this way. You should be shooting out towards the main river. And he's like, well, I'm going to call the cops. And I was like, dude, call the cops. I'm pretty sure I'm on the right side here. And so I've had some issues with folks, but for the most part, I try to give them space and hope that they would return the favor. I'm not trying to mess up anybody's fun time. This is a good resource. I'm all about sharing it. It's just have to do so reasonably. I even went one time. I was actually launching at the boat ramp when they were going out, and I just asked them. I was like, "You guys heading upriver, downriver?" And I was like, "I'll go with the opposite way of whatever way you're going, because I don't want to be anywhere near where you guys are hunting." So we're starting to get into the area where the current picks up a little bit. So this is kind of the next big area that I start looking, because if they're not in the slow moving stuff, odds are then they're kind of looking for, maybe they're a little more hungry, and will be feeding here in the little bit faster moving current. But it also just takes a little more maneuvering to stay where I want to be while I'm fishing it. And the wind is picking up just a little bit, and getting a little bit of a bow in my line here, which makes the Ned rig fun at times. So what I usually do is when I get in the current, I drift down to where I know I'm going to drift past the island, and then I let the current kind of just pull me back around. So then I'm facing the bottom side of the current, or the bottom side of the island, and then I'll just, pedal ever just enough to kind of keep me in place so I can cast at the bottom side of this island here. Because a lot of times they will sit there and just pick stuff off coming through. And swings around the island and then right up against the bank, and it makes that section of the bank pretty good too, when you can keep from pulling up all the grass. Again, we'll keep trying here and see what we get. It is crystal clear today too, which that will probably change if the river's going to rise. But I'm thinking maybe the crankbait might be good here. If it's that clear, I might have to give that a try. I am running it through my phone. The amount that I use, I'm using the pole is like the smaller of the Yak Attack camera poles. We got it, Paddle and Fin crew all got it that one year when we all did we kind of did a hosts bracket, and we all got that. Super grateful to Yak Gadget for providing that to us. They gave us, I think it's the panfish, the smaller panfish one, and then the phone mount was an Amazon special, but it's spring loaded, and I had the kind of the X grip one that has like big rubber knobs, but the knobs kept coming off, and this one just has like a kind of a crimper that closes and opens around the side of my phone, and it works so much better than that X grip one. I tried 2 or 3 different ones of those X grip ones, and I knocked those rubber things off, and it was a pain trying to use that. And then I found this one, and it just works so much greater. It has it's actually mounted on almost like what are the balls that are the track mounted balls. I can't remember the brand, but it kind of has that mount on the back in it, so it's really has a lot of different ways you can articulate it, and a lot of adjustment you can do to get it just the right way. I apologize, the sun is, thought that was a bite, but I think it was just grass. I am going to switch up to the crankbait, I think, here real quick, but I'm going to keep the Ned rig handy, because there are a few spots coming up. There's also some eddies that where the current comes around the creek mouths here. It is low here, lower than it normally is, so the crankbait's going to be really bumping the bottom a good bit here. So this is always a good spot for the crankbait because it's very rocky, but also there's current. So in the river, it's one of my favorite spots to throw a crankbait because you can really work it around and just feel that bottom bump, digging. It's a little grassy, which again is why the crankbait sometimes isn't my favorite, but I also try throwing the jackhammer because the jackhammer sometimes picks up a little bit less grass than the crankbait does, but we'll see what we get here. I've had luck cranking, just floating down in this current scene here, and cranking that bank as I float by. There's a new dock right here that some folks built just in the last year that I like to fish with my Ned rig because it's a bigger or a newer dock and has some barrels by it. It just makes for a nice little spot where they can hide out. Oh, no, that's the bottom. I have to go get them. That's the one thing with fishing the crankbait on system is you will get snagged. But the nice thing about the kayak is I can just come up here and just come above of it. Most of the time. There we go. It'll come off like that. We're here. Let's see, I'm going to swap it to my knitter rod. Yes, I did just lay that on my deck like I told you guys I shouldn't do. But, the wind is picking up. I'm starting to hear it in my line guides on the rods behind me. So sometimes that makes for better fishing too, when it adds just enough ripple on the water to break up the surface tension and they can't see quite as well. I wonder if it's going to be one of those weird, they want it moving and the jig kind of bites. I don't know if you can tell, I was trying to find the best way to angle my video. I wish I could have it a little bit further out in front of me so you could see more of the water moving around me, but it is definitely moving. This area of the river is a little bit faster current than where I was when I started, so it makes it nice because I can cast above the stock and let the current just carry it right down underneath it. Usually it's good for a few bluegill nibbles, if anything. We're at 8:04, so thanks for anybody who's still tuning in with me. Definitely been a slower bite this morning. Slower than I hoped. You always want to catch fish if you're going to be pretending to know what you're doing. But we'll see. They're definitely going to be around here. We just have to find them. There will be some spots coming up. We're kind of about halfway down to the big rocks, what I like to call the big rocks, where it's just a ledge system that goes the whole way across the river. And usually that is money for at least a little bit of the bite, or even might not be huge ones, but odds are there's something there. Another kind of feature of the river that's coming up right behind me and to my left on the shore here is it's a man-made rock wall that goes down into the water, and it runs the whole length of the bank until I get kind of down towards the rocks there. So that's a really good spot. So I might break out that not quite a jig and run it there, because it's a really good spot with all those rocks for craws to kind of be hanging out in. Let's see here. I'll run the crankbait a little bit more. Just see if we can pick up anything in this kind of wider open spot that has a little more current. There's also a big kind of lay down tree that's out in the middle of the river that's been there for a couple of seasons now, which is not usual, because usually we'll have at least one big high water event that'll kind of clear those out, but it must be really stuck good because it hasn't moved for a couple of those big floods now. So I don't know if you guys, yeah, there's one. Ooh, not too bad. Yay! so we got the skunk off. Crankbait was the ticket there. And we can say good morning to our first Susky Smawn. Not a bad one. Let's get this crankbait out. And this is where not having your deck all cluttered can be nice. But yeah, not a bad one. Thank you, buddy. It looks to be like maybe a 14, so we'll take him. Appreciate that, bud. Let him go. And so yeah, we got our skunk off. So that's definitely a good sign. And now I gotta get that darn treble out of my net. There we go. That was easier than it usually is. So treble hook baits have a love-hate relationship with them. I love them because they usually help the fish stay pinned, but they're also sometimes a pain in the butt. You know what? I should probably put the Ned rig back. See, I don't like doing that because I like having the option to throw it when I need it. So maybe I'll try and tuck it down here under the camera. Not quite my favorite place for it, but so cool. All right, so skunk is off. Nice little Susky or 14-incher about. I should have put it on the board, but we'll see. Again, and it's just kind of my experience that it takes them an hour or so to wake up, and we're right about at 8 o'clock, so it's been daylight for about an hour now, and that's usually, and I don't know, maybe you guys have different experience, comment below, but generally that's my experience. I do go out first light a lot, and it's just been my experience that it tends to take them a while to wake up. So I have another smaller creek mouth right behind me. I usually like to drift up on it a little bit better than I did. Nope. But I'm kind of digging the crankbait right now. And I'm trying to back away here from that creek mouth. Let's see what we can do. I'd like to keep you guys with me at least till I get down to the rocks, because that should be a little more steady action. More duck hunters. That sounded a little bit further away, so that one isn't as worrisome. So that sounded like on the big islands that are pretty down to my south, and we won't be going down that far. Although there's a duck point on the shore right here where I am, but I don't think anybody's home there right now. I don't see any decoys or anything, so I think I'm good. So what I'm fishing right now is just south of that, the lower creek mouth here. There's a big pile up of brush and trees and stuff, all the high water events, and they really, I usually have somewhat good luck fishing there because they kind of hang out right on it, and right on the edge, because it gives them a perfect ambush point. They approach it the way I usually like to. I usually like to kind of stay away from it. And, it's really grassy today though for some reason. It looks like it did pick up a lot of grass from stuff flowing down upriver since the last time I've been here, because it's a lot of grass just kind of laying there. Now that I slowed it down past it, I'm going to kind of work my way back up and kind of work the little nooks and crannies that I can see. And there's a lot of crap. Looks like maybe even almost looks like mud caked on there. It's really weird. This rig has been on my rod for a while now. It's one of those that you get your paint pulled down and have to readjust it every once in a while. I used to carry super glue on my kayak to glue the net to the knee rig head so it didn't slide down like that, but I used it all and keep forgetting to add it back to my kayak. So I put that in there here and put that on the store because it does really help. I could just replace the first two because a lot of times that having a new one will help. But I'm almost wondering, since we got that one cranking, maybe I should still crank it that a little bit more. It seemed like really good short. That's nice for what it's got. I just have to fight the grass. Once we get down to the rocks, one thing that's really nice about the rocks is the current moving in between them is a lot stronger. But you can also sit right behind them and not fight the current. So, which obviously why the smallmouth like kids, but I like it because then I can kind of stay put and not have to be constantly pedaling to maintain my position. Maybe for time's sake, we'll skip this little part here and head down there. Turn around instead of moving down, see what we can find. Again, I appreciate all you guys who have hung out with me this morning. I'm sorry it took me so long to catch my first fish. Generally, it's not always like that, but so I just made a cast towards that big tree. But now I'm cranking my crankbait upstream, which I don't necessarily love, but as long as you don't work it quite as fast, it'll still just use the water resistance to go down. I could tell I had grass on there right away. One thing about the crankbait that makes it tough is that it does pick up all the grass. Weird right now. I'd be expecting to feel in the bottom. Oops. A little bit more here. That was grass. And now I'm down past the tree. I can make a cast up parallel to it. And run it back down. More grass. Like anybody's home on the tree. So now we'll work our way down to the rocks. Spin around here. Let's see. Just check my battery. Get some juice. This videoing constantly does drain the battery. A little bit of rock right here in front of me that I like to fish in generally. If you don't send your Ned rig flying back in your face, always go. Alright, try it. Spin around here. Plays havoc with me. Wind knots are the bane of my existence. There we go. Alright, so let's go. Head down to the rocks real quick. Get the sun out from behind me so you guys can actually see it. Here's home down in the rocks. Let's head down there quick. So there's around down here, and yeah, I'll probably wrap this up and then keep fishing. I don't know how much longer you guys want to hang out with me watching me, but I appreciate you guys taking the time to at least stick with me through one cast or one catch. But this will also be, so this down here in this area is going to open up a lot of those other options for me, like the tube and the not quite a jig, because the current will be a little stronger. And just fishing this as many times as I have now, I know a lot of the little pockets where they hide. Definitely all the rocks are not created equal. There's a few kind of nooks and crannies that tend to usually be higher percentage areas. And it looks like no boats or duck hunters down here right in this area, so that makes me happy. Try some of these higher percentage spots. As long as the wind isn't going to turn me all sorts of funny ways here. Certainly wanting to. Hear my lovely wind chime noise there. Not my favorite sound in the world as the wind blows through the line guides, but I'll take it. definitely requires a little more maneuvering as you try and not go through the spots I really want to cast at, but also this is usually where I see all my eagles too. There's a pair of eagles that live in this area. It's kind of sound like I hear one. Oh, it's a dog that I hear. Not sure what he's seeing that he doesn't like, but it's not me. He's pretty far up there. So right now what I'm doing is I'm down in a ledge system, kind of in between two of them, and I'm sitting in a kind of slack water part of it, casting up into where the current's kind of ripping through between the rocks a little bit, trying to hit the edge of the eddies. And if this doesn't work with the Ned rig, then what I tend to do is upsize, get a little more weight. Now again, my Ned rig, or my, keep on getting bites. Take it. My tube is a little heavier than I would like because I ran out of all my 16th ounce tube heads, or is it? It might be my 8th ounce tube heads, and the 3/16 are all I have. I just have one size heavier than I prefer, but we will make it work here. There's quite a few spots here in this area that I know and will look for here. So it's kind of interesting. You'll be just kind of creeping along in the eddies behind the rocks, and then all of a sudden you'll hit the current seam, and it'll just whip me downstream, and I gotta fight my way back up. But it's also what makes this area such a good spot. It just took me a while to learn how to maneuver it in the kayak to best fish it. But having done it so many times now, I know how to work my way through it until I get stuck in the next eddy. Oh. This is just such a good area. At times, there's definitely times where I think they're going to be here and they're not. And I have the nice, there we go. Wind knots. Definitely wind is picking up. I hope the audio doesn't affect the audio too much. Huh, looks like my power pack isn't working because I'm getting a little bit low battery. Close. Battery in here. I don't want to drift down too far here. spots. Alright guys, well it looks like my battery pack is not working. So I'm going on a little over an hour now, so I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. We will be back next week with a new guest, and I definitely am looking forward to a few of the guests we have coming up. Just waiting on to hear back from them a few times, but looking forward to getting back to some more technique specific stuff. So thanks again for hanging in with us guys, and I'm going to go ahead and end it here, and let's see here. Again, we will let's see if I can find my ending video here. Doing it on my phone does make it a little more tough, but let's see. For some reason the ending isn't here, so I might have to add that back in there in the end. But again guys, thanks for hanging out with me today. This has been another episode of the Bass Fishing for Noobs here on the Paddle and Fin podcast, where we bring you the techniques, the tricks, and the tips to help you rip more lips. You guys have a good day.